Hello, welcome to the channel, Miracles of History. Don't forget to leave your like. Saint Hedwig, the princess of the poor and the indebted. Throughout the history of the church, many saints have stood out for their charity, humility, and unwavering faith. Among them is Saint Hedwig, a noblewoman, duchess, wife, mother, and later, a religious who renounced the riches and glories of this world to live the gospel in its fullness. Her life, marked by generosity, prayer, and service to those most in need, made her a symbol of hope for people facing financial hardships, debts, and material struggles. This video presents the story, virtues, and legacy of Saint Hedwig, whose devotion continues to grow throughout the world. Birth and noble origins. Saint Hedwig was born in 1174 in the region of Silesia, today part of Poland, but then belonging to the Holy Roman Empire. She was the daughter of Duke Berthold IV of Bavaria, a powerful German noble. From birth, Hedwig was surrounded by wealth, prestige, and political influence. Yet from a very young age, she showed a deep inclination toward the Christian faith and a life of prayer. She was educated in a Benedictine monastery in Germany, where she studied Latin, theology, and the Psalms, and was introduced to monastic practices. This strong spiritual foundation shaped the course of her entire life, marriage, and life as a duchess. At only 12 years old, Hedwig was betrothed to Duke Henry I of Silesia, as was common among noble families of the time, although the marriage was arranged for political reasons. The couple lived a stable and fruitful union, based on mutual respect and faith. They had 7 children, of whom only 2 survived into adulthood. Even as a duchess, with access to wealth and privileges, Hedwig chose to live with simplicity and a spirit of penance. She avoided the luxuries of the court and used her position to promote the well-being of the poor and marginalized. It was common for her to sell her jewels and fine clothing to buy food and garments for those in need. Charity and service to the poor. Saint Hedwig became known for her extraordinary charity. Every day, she welcomed orphans, widows, the sick, the elderly, and lepers. She fed them, clothed them, and personally tended to their wounds, seeing in them the very presence of Christ. The saint founded and supported several hospitals, shelters, and monasteries, including the famous Trzebnica monastery, where she would later retire as a religious. Even as a duchess, she did not hesitate to walk barefoot to meet the poor, demonstrating her remarkable detachment from noble privilege. Her generosity was accompanied by an intense spiritual life. She prayed daily, fasted often, and attended Mass whenever possible. Her greatest joy was being in God's presence and serving others out of love for Him. Faith in the midst of sorrow. Saint Hedwig's life was not free from suffering. She lost nearly all her children in infancy or youth, except Gertrude, who became abbess of Trzebnica, and Henry II, who succeeded his father as ruler of Silesia. Even so, Hedwig never rebelled against God. On the contrary, she deepened her trust in divine providence and found strength in prayer. In 1238, she became a widow after the death of Henry I. After this event, Hedwig renounced political life and material possessions. She retired to the monastery of Trzebnica, where her daughter Gertrude was abbess. There she lived as a religious, though without taking formal vows, embracing humility, silence, penance, and contemplation. Life in the monastery. At the monastery, Saint Hedwig adopted an even more austere lifestyle. She slept on a wooden board covered with straw, fasted constantly, performed manual labor, and spent long hours in prayer. Even there, she continued her charitable work, welcoming pilgrims and aiding the poor. She gave special attention to indebted women and prisoners, interceding for them with local authorities, paying their debts, and securing their release. For this reason, she is still considered the patron saint of the indebted and of families facing financial difficulties. Miracles and signs of holiness. Even during her lifetime, Saint Hedwig was regarded as holy. Many miracles were attributed to her: healings, multiplication of food, and spiritual deliverances. But she always attributed everything to God and refused to be exalted. One story tells of how she paid the debt of a poor woman who was about to be imprisoned. On her way back, she was seen carrying her shoes in her hands. When asked why she did not wear them, she replied, "I cannot walk before God with pride upon my feet." This phrase became a symbol of her humility and devotion. Her reputation for holiness grew, and people from many regions sought her intercession. Death and canonization. Saint Hedwig died on October 15, 1243, at the age of 69, in the Trzebnica monastery, where she was buried. Soon after her death, numerous miracles were reported at her tomb, which became a place of pilgrimage. In 1267, Pope Clement IV canonized her, officially recognizing her sanctity. From then on, Saint Hedwig was venerated as a model Christian mother, faithful wife, just ruler, and holy religious. Saint Hedwig, patroness of the indebted. Devotion to Saint Hedwig quickly spread across Europe, especially among the poor and afflicted. She became known as the patroness of the indebted, since she aided so many in debt during her life and continues, from heaven, to intercede for those in material hardship. The faithful around the world invoke her in times of financial crisis, to overcome debts, unpaid rent, overdue bills, and economic struggles. But her intercession extends beyond that. She is also the protector of families, the sick, prisoners, and vulnerable women. Devotion in Brazil and the world. In Brazil, devotion to Saint Hedwig is very popular. There are hundreds of churches and chapels dedicated to her, as well as novenas, rosaries, and masses in her honor, especially on October 16th, her feast day. In São Paulo, the sanctuary of Saint Hedwig, in the Jabaquara neighborhood, is one of the most renowned in the country, drawing thousands of devotees each year. It is common to see people fulfilling promises, lighting candles, and bringing petitions and prayers, especially seeking deliverance from debt, employment opportunities, and family protection. Beyond Brazil, countries such as Poland, Germany, Mexico, and Argentina also maintain strong devotion to this beloved saint. Sayings attributed to Saint Hedwig. Although few of her writings remain, several sayings are attributed to her spirituality. I would rather lose all the goods of this earth than deny Christ's love to the poor. Charity is the shortest path to heaven. Whoever lives for others will never be poor in the eyes of God. The goods of this world pass away, but the good done to others remains forever. A message for our times. We live in days of economic uncertainty, unemployment, social inequality, and family crises. The figure of Saint Hedwig shines as a beacon of hope for those who suffer. She teaches us that true wealth lies in love for God and neighbor. Even amid suffering, it is possible to live with faith and dignity. Charity transforms lives and brings us closer to heaven. Those who trust in divine providence are never alone. She invites us to seek holiness in everyday life, even amid material worries. Her life shows that it is possible to unite deep faith with concrete action, spirituality with service, prayer with social commitment. Conclusion. Saint Hedwig was a woman who lived with her feet on the ground and her heart in heaven. Her nobility did not rest in titles, but in her capacity to serve with humility, to love intensely, and to trust fully in God's will. Today, she continues to intercede for millions who turn to her with faith and hope. She is indeed the saint of the indebted, but also of justice, peace, compassion, and holiness in the world. May her example inspire us to live with greater generosity, trust, and faith. May she intercede for all who face financial struggles today, bringing relief, opportunities, and the strength to begin anew. Saint Hedwig, pray for us. If you were inspired by this story, don't forget to share this video with someone who needs to know about Saint Hedwig. Turn on the notification bell, subscribe to the channel, and leave your like. See you in the next video with more inspiring stories like this.